Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Thursday, and all of today's guests, including Shane O'Brien, former Canuck, standing by, brought to you by the Vancouver Giants. Tomorrow is Fan Appreciation Night as the Giants take on Kelowna, 7 p.m. You can win a trip to Vegas, a Michael Bublé signed hockey stick, over $1,000 in White Spot gift cards, and more. Grab your tickets now at vancouvergiants.com/tickets. We're joined now by Shane O'Brien, former NHLer, former Vancouver Canuck, co-host of the Missin Curfew Podcast with Scotty Upshall. Shane, thanks so much for doing this, sir. How are you?
Good, boys. Thanks for having me. And Vancouver Giants, I had to skate with them for about a week after the Canucks shipped me to Nashville. I was waiting for my immigration papers, Don Hay and the boys. So I was a Vancouver Giant for a week, and I got to be honest, fellas, I enjoyed every second of it.
They're still talking about it, Shane. Hey, Shane, recently, St. Patrick's Day, you do your Missin Curfew podcast. You're wearing the original WHA Hartford Whalers Gordie Howe jersey. Where'd you get that thing? It was beautiful.
You know what, Don? I got to be honest. My boy back in our productions, Kyle, our boy, he brought him in. He had the Toronto St. Pat's one, and then that Hartford Whaler one you're talking about. And I didn't even know what it was, but I was like, that is a sharp jersey. Obviously, I knew it had something to do with the Whalers, with the Whaler on it. But yeah, old school. I didn't know Gordie Howe wore it. That makes it even better.
Yeah, no kidding. I don't know if it's politically correct these days with the harpoon, but it's a pretty sharp looking jersey. Hey, Shane, your old coach John Tortorella is up to it again this week. We understand. We just found this out. Sean Couturier scratched again for a second straight game. Your thoughts on what Torts is up to in Philadelphia? And look, he scratched him last game, and they beat the Leafs, so you can understand what's happening tonight going into Carolina. But your thoughts on what he's up to these days.
Yeah, listen, it's Torts being Torts, right? I played for him for 2.5 years. I love John Tortorella as a man. He made me a better hockey player at the time. He made me a better person at the time. Maybe some days the way he handled my situation back then I didn't love, but looking back, I respected it. You know where you stand with Torts. Like it, love it, hate it. There's no mind games. There's no messing around. If you're not playing well, he's obviously going to sit you out. Now, do I love him sitting out Sean Couturier a month and a half after they named him captain? I didn't love it. I didn't think it was a smart play by Torts because, listen, I love Keith Jones. I love Danny Briere. I love the Philadelphia Flyers fans, and they're in a situation that nobody thought they would be in, and that's credit to John Tortorella. But now to sit out your captain when you're 3 points in a playoff spot or 4 points in, I thought it was a risky move. But as you fellas know, John Tortorella doesn't care what anyone thinks.
Yeah. Before we go any further, I'll remind people that the fun Missin Curfew podcast now available on the DraftKings network at dknetwork.com. Show also available wherever fans listen to podcasts, including on Spotify and Apple. Shane, how did John Tortorella make you a better player, a better man?
Just with accountability. Listen, I got traded there for a first-round pick. I still say it's Brian Burke's best trade ever. He got a first-rounder for time. And obviously Anaheim went on to win the cup, but I came there as a young man. I was 23, 24, 25 years old, learning how to play defense in the National Hockey League. In my opinion, it's the hardest position to play, and Torts made me better. And days that I didn't want to hear it, he'd call me in and give it to me, and I'd leave there, and I'd be like, as much as I didn't want to hear it, I was like, you know what, he was right. And you know what, Donnie, it wasn't so much when I played for him at that time as to when my career went on, and I was in Vancouver, and I was lucky enough to have Rick Bowness, and Bones was a great communicator. And then as my career went on, and as I retired and looked back to what Torts was trying to do with me, he was just trying to make me better. And it's the old cliche, if the coach doesn't care about you, he won't talk to you. Believe me, I went through it with Bob Hartley in Calgary. I didn't talk to him ever. If Torts is all over you, it means he cares. He's trying to make you better. And just the accountability of being a pro is what he did for me.
Shane, we didn't see this season with the Canucks, the number one team in the Western Conference. What do you like about them? And all season long, they've been right near the top of the standings.
Yeah, it's great, right? It's nice to see. I guess it's Rogers Arena now back humming. It's full. They're in playoff contention. I'm jealous of you boys. I remember the weather starting to turn. Playoff hockey back in Vancouver. It was some of my best memories of playing in the NHL. I took pride in the playoffs. Rick Tocchet. It starts with the man, Rick Tocchet. I love that guy. I've got to know him over the last couple of years, and I was pulling for him in Vancouver. Obviously, Thatcher Demko, the way he's bounced back this year, I know he's dinged up right now. What I love about them moving forward is I love their size on the back end. I think in a 7-game series, when you look at the Canucks, the beef they have back there, and then obviously with their captain, Quinn Hughes, every time I watch him, I just say, man, it would be fun to be his D partner. And then JT Miller. I took some heat, boys, a couple years ago over Borhava and some of the things I said, and I've always loved JT Miller. He's proved me right. That guy does not take a shift off. And I think he's the heartbeat up front, but I think their size on the back end of their goaltending is their biggest attribute come playoff time.
Shane, we got to get the Stanley Cup back in Canada. 4 Canadian teams in the top 10. Which one do you like to go the farthest?
It's a great question. I mean, you're pulling for Connor McDavid, right? Leon Draisaitl in Edmonton. They both deserve one just on how much excitement they bring to the game, how they sell the game. However, I don't love their back end there still. Their goaltending, we'll see what happens. The sneaky team for me, boys, obviously I'm pulling for Vancouver, but the Winnipeg Jets to fully pick up the deadline. You got Collar Hollaback between the pipes. They got size. They got depth. I love their captain and Adam Lowry. So I guess my sneaky pick would be the Winnipeg Jets, but I'm going for the Canucks, baby. I'm going to come up there for the first round, me and the updog. Let's get it going.
Well, we'll be sure to hook up with you for another interview then. Talk with Shane O'Brien. Hey, Shane, serious subject. Did you know Chris Simon?
I didn't know him personally. I played against him near the end of his career, early on in my career. And I remember one night, I can't remember what team he was playing for. And, you know, I was trying to establish myself in the league, but I always thought I didn't cross the line. And that night, in Big Chief's opinion, I crossed the line. And he just came over to me and said, "You think you're tough, kid?" And I just said, "Hey, Chris, I'm just trying to stay in this league, man. I'm just trying to do what I can to stay in this league." He was a scary, scary individual. Guys that did play with him absolutely loved him. My good friend Brian Berard played with Chris Simon over in Russia and has nothing but great things to say about him. He won a Stanley Cup, and you know, when you play that role in the NHL, as you two guys know, you guys have followed the game for a long time and seen the eras change. When Chris Simon played, the guys he had to bang with, I mean, it's sad. It's sad to see another Warrior go down like that. You know, I've lost Wade Belak. We've all lost Rick Rippon, guys that were Warriors on the ice, and to lose another one, it's just it's terrible, fellas.
Where do you stand these days, Shane, on fighting at all levels of hockey?
Yeah, it's a great question, Donnie. Listen, you see Matt Rempe come up, right? I've loved it. I've loved it. Now, I never loved the stage fighting back in the day, and I told Brian McGrath and Big Earn, who I absolutely love, and I said, Big Earn, you guys almost got so big and so tough that the NHL almost had to step in because somebody was going to get seriously hurt. I don't know if you guys remember when Georgie Peros went down in Montreal and hit his head.
Yeah,
getting so big and so tough that the NHL, I think, had no choice but to try to, soften the fighting in the game. But I do think there's room for it. I do think we need the physicality. For me, Donnie, it's not so much the fighting as the physicality. We cannot lose the physicality of this game. Yeah. The speed is great. The skill is through the roof. But we still need to be physical. And for me, fighting will come of that. But we cannot lose the physicality of hockey.
Yeah, I think everybody is on board when it comes to the stage fighting being a thing of the past. Hey, Shane, Habs, as we switch gears here, Habs in Vancouver tonight. Is there still a buzz with the Montreal Canadiens when they come to a town? I know they made the Stanley Cup final in 2021. It was during the pandemic. Are they still a hot ticket?
Yeah, you know what? Listen, I watched them play the other night against Edmonton, and they almost cost me some money, boys. They had the old ropes there. I was like, all right, Connor, it's time to take over the game, which he did in overtime. But obviously, Marty St. Louis is not with them right now. Thinking of Marty, I'm not sure what's going on there, but I absolutely love that man as a teammate and a person. But yeah, they are. You saw all the Habs jerseys, in Edmonton. I'm sure you'll see them in Vancouver tonight. Anytime the Habs used to come to town when I played for the Canucks, there was always Montreal fans around. And when I was in Tampa, the Montreal fans would travel down to Tampa. So I do still think they're a hot ticket. And I do think they're closer to being a playoff team than not being a playoff team after watching them play against the Oilers a couple nights ago.
Rick?
When you come to Vancouver, Shane, are they going to have a spot for you at the Roxy ready to go?
Hey, that's a great question. We're trying to do a little party up in Vancouver, and I tracked down. Obviously, I don't know the guys working the Roxy anymore. They've all retired like myself, but I got the GM's number, so I am going to reach out to them and see if we could maybe do something fun at the Roxy. But Yeah, that place was good to me and bad to me at times, but it was a staple of the league back in the day.
I think there's a plaque on one of the walls with your picture, Shane. You'll have no problem getting in.
Yep.
Thanks for this, buddy.
Hey, you guys are the best. Keep it going. Go Canucks.